the DCU's Batfamily concerns me. Aside from the fact that Andy Muschietti is going to be directing this movie, which also concerns me as well, because if you didn't know, he directed the 2023 Flash movie, so that's heavily concerning. In fact, my concern has to do with the continuity of the Batfamily. So continuity-wise, this is what we know so far. James Gunn wants Bruce Wayne to be around the same age as Clark Kent. So obviously we already know Clark Kent is 30 as of the events of Superman right now. And I definitely agree 1000% because I really do believe that their dynamic is a lot better when they are around the same age. And alright, that's cool, but then shit starts to get confusing once we find out that the main Robin for Brave and the Bold is going to be Damian Wayne. And before I get attacked by Damian Wayne fans, I'm not insinuating that Damian Wayne is a bad character and or a bad Robin. I'm not insinuating that at all whatsoever. But it starts to get confusing when you realize Bruce Wayne is going to be around the same age as Clark Kent once Brave and the Bold comes out. And it just makes you wonder, how the fuck are they going to fit in decades worth of Batman lore into a Batman that is most likely going to be in his mid-30s. And I've also been hearing that the Dynamic Duo movie is actually going to be DCU canon, and I've also heard that that movie is going to have both Dick Grayson and Jason Todd as Robin at the same time as a prequel. And this is a really good idea because you're essentially taking down two birds with one stone, no pun intended. And they already have a Batfamily timeline that can fit in decades worth of Batfamily lore in a 12 to 13 year span. But then at the end of it, I'm going to let you know the big issue that I personally have that some of you might think is not that big of a deal, but I think it's a big problem. And if anybody has any suggestions for how they would fix this continuity problem that I'm going to bring up in the next few minutes, feel free to drop it down in the comments below. And I want to preface this by saying that this timeline mainly follows 7 Batfamily members. And I'm pretty sure you guys probably know who these 7 Batfamily members are, but I'm going to list them off regardless for those who probably don't know. Bruce Wayne, Barbara Gordon, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Alfred, and Damian Wayne. And that would have the events of Batman Brave and the Bold take place in either 2027 or 2028, because that's when I think the movies are actually going to come out by then. So we already know that Superman is 30 years old as of the events of the Superman movie, and obviously, well, it's not obvious, but most of us probably believe and think that the Superman movie takes place in 2025, and I do think that's when the movie does take place. And with that being said, I think Bruce Wayne should be around 3 years older than Clark Kent. So that would mean Clark was born in 1995 and Bruce Wayne was born in 1992. And we're gonna start at 2001. In 2001, a 9-year-old Bruce Wayne sees both of his parents get shot and killed in an alleyway. And with that tragedy happening, Alfred becomes Bruce Wayne's legal guardian and raises him as his son, basically. And now we fast forward 15 years later, and a 23-year-old Bruce Wayne becomes Batman after 5 years of rigorous training. And also in 2015, Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul would conceive Damian Wayne. And in 2016, the Flying Graysons incident happens, and Bruce Wayne adopts a 13-year-old Dick Grayson. And a month later, while on patrol, Bruce Wayne sees an 11-year-old Jason Todd stealing the tires off of the Batmobile. And with that being said, I would already have both of Jason Todd's parents be dead, and Bruce Wayne would therefore adopt Jason Todd. And in 2017, after 6 months of training, Dick Grayson becomes Batman's partner Robin, and then following that, a month later, Jason Todd also becomes Robin after 6 months of training. And also in 2017, a 14-year-old Barbara Gordon is already making an impact in Gotham as Batgirl, and she also teams up with Batman and the 2 Robins. And then after that, we take a time jump to 2022, and an 18-year-old Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne have a falling out, and Dick Grayson quits being Robin and being a superhero altogether. Also in 2022, Batman and Superman meet for the first time. And in 2022, we're gonna have some very dark things happen with the Batfamily, starting with Barbara Gordon getting shot and paralyzed by the Joker. I would have this happen either late 2022 or early 2023, and then we immediately follow that up with the death of Jason Todd. I would literally have this 2 to 3 months after Barbara gets paralyzed, and then for about a year have Batman become more brutal and more violent as a hero. And in 2024, a 15 to 16-year-old Tim Drake figures out, number one, Bruce Wayne is Batman, and number two, he confronts Bruce Wayne about what he's doing, and he thinks that Batman needs a Robin. Not even, scratch that. He tells Bruce Wayne that Batman needs a Robin, and he starts to plead his case that he should be Robin. Also in 2024, Clark Kent and Dick Grayson have a heart-to-heart, and Clark Kent tells Dick Grayson a story about the Kryptonian superhero called Nightwing, and that story inspires Dick Grayson enough to become a superhero again by the name of Nightwing. And at the end of 2024, Tim Drake officially becomes Robin after months of training. Now I am going to address what I am going to do with Jason Todd after his death. Part of me wants to keep him dead even after Damian Wayne gets introduced, but I do think he should come back to life beforehand. But after Damian Wayne is introduced is when he starts to get closer with the Batfamily again. And I also forgot to mention, also in 2024, Barbara Gordon becomes Oracle. And with her becoming Oracle, I think she should branch off and become a member of the Birds of Prey later down the line. And I think there are two ways that they can go about Jason Todd being resurrected in the DCU. The first option is obviously the more widely known version, which is just he's thrown in the Lazarus pit and he comes back to life. And I'm more of a fan of Superboy Prime being the reason why he came back to life, and the Lazarus pit being the reason why he gained his memories back. And you can reveal that Superboy Prime or even another external factor resurrected Jason Todd later down the line. So yeah, late 2024, early 2025, Jason Todd mysteriously gets resurrected, but the thing is that he comes back as literally a soulless body, surviving off of strictly instinct. And one night, Talia al Ghul just finds him sleeping on a bench, and then she takes him to wherever the League of Assassins are to throw him in the Lazarus pit. And with him being thrown in the Lazarus pit, he gained his consciousness and has the same memories that he had when he was previously alive. But don't worry, I would still have the Lazarus pit also be used to resurrect people and DH people as well. And for Jason, as a form of a side effect, he gains a white streak that appears in his hair. And James Gunn, please, we need the white streak, bro, please. And as another side effect, I would have his body be aged to whichever age he would have been if he stayed alive. So therefore, Jason Todd would be aged up to being 19 years old. And then we fast forward to the year of 2026, and then that's where you have the events of Under the Red Hood take place. From 2025 to 2027, have Tim Drake run around with the Titans and also form Young Justice as well, so he can develop these deep bonds with these other heroes as well. And finally, in either 2027 or 2028, Bruce Wayne meets his 12-year-old or 13-year-old son, Damian Wayne. And at face value, I think I did a pretty decent job, but then someone brought it to me that Dick Grayson and Jason Todd were heroes for longer than Superman. I don't know, maybe they retcon how long Clark has been Superman for. If that's the case, then Clark would have been well seasoned into being Superman. So I really don't know what the fuck the DCU is going to do about the Batfamily, but it really does scare me that Tim Drake is going to be erased, and that is a war crime. If I had it my way, I would just have Damian Wayne be introduced later on, like I would say 5-6 years down the line in real time, and have Tim Drake be the main Robin right now. And the script right now is still being written, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can correct me in the comments, but if that's the case, they can still pivot. But that's it for me in this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.